Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, we are titling this one, It's an NVIDIA World. We're just living in it. Because if people have at all paid attention to the news the last week, the last month, the last year, NVIDIA is a stock that's done incredibly, just high level. Some people might not know what does NVIDIA do and how strong were those earnings recently?
They make chips. They're
There
a
we
chip
go.
making company, but no, they like semiconductor chips, not Frito-Lay's or anything. But yeah, they make semiconductor chips. We're all talking about artificial intelligence, right? What do you need for artificial intelligence to function? You need computational power, right? You need computers to do that, and you need a lot of computing power to do that. What powers these computers? It's these chips, right? And specifically NVIDIA's chips. That's what they're selling, and people cannot get enough of them. When they reported earnings, Ryan, last week, I thought the theme of that was supply or demand was much greater than supply. That was the essential theme. People, like I said, people can't get enough of these chips.
Well said. I know their revenue went up 275%. Earnings soared as well. We'll get into some of the details on that in a second here. But what got me was their stock was up like 16%, give or take. Okay, what does that mean? In terms of market cap, they gained $277 billion, Sonu, in one day. That's like larger than Coca-Cola, just so everybody knows. And that is the all-time largest one-day market cap. It was Meta / Facebook set earlier this year, but just truly incredible. I made the joke, death, taxes, and NVIDIA beats on earnings. You want to talk just a little bit more about just how strong those earnings were?
Yeah, look, earnings. I'll put it in perspective. In 2022, earnings they earned $6.2 billion from the sales. 2023, actually, it ends on January 31st, 2024. But let's say it's 2023. They earned from their sales $22 billion. From $6 billion, they went to $22 billion. That's massive. It's massive demand. It just tells you how strong demand was for the stuff they produce, the chips they produce, right? And Ryan, here's the thing. That was even more incredible because revenues from China were lower because of U.S. sanctions, right? That tells you how strong demand is everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, and some of their largest customers are companies you probably heard of: Microsoft, Apple, Google / Alphabet. Just truly amazing. But I guess, so we could talk all day about how strong these earnings were, and they were incredible. This company's now valued at over $2 trillion, only a third company to ever do that, at least in the United States. But Sonu, the worry that we hear, though, is big tech in a bubble, right? What NVIDIA is doing is amazing, but talk to me about why it's maybe not a bubble, because there's actually earnings this time around, unlike the late 90s.
Yeah, I think it's a story of profitability, right? Getting back to it's not a story about, sentiment going much further than, what better profitability is. Like you talked about market cap, right? So NVIDIA's market capitalization 2 years ago was about 570 billion. It's now close to 2 trillion. That's an increase of about 350%. But over that time, earnings per share is up 389%. So since the end of 2021 through last Friday, NVIDIA stock is up 167%. That's incredible. Now, when you look at a return, when you look at a stock's return, or even for the index, right? What's it made up of? It's made up of earnings growth plus valuations. Valuations is essentially sentiment. How much are investors willing to pay for future earnings, right? So for NVIDIA, earnings growth added 270 percentage points. Valuations actually dragged. It pulled down returns by 103 percentage points, and that's how you get to 167% returns for NVIDIA over the last 26 months.
So the bottom line, let's call it the last 2 years, close enough for government work, earnings have grown explosively for NVIDIA. Net profit was up close to 900% in the past year. This stock has been incredible. And honestly, a lot of the other large cap tech, they call them the Magnificent Seven, NVIDIA is part of this, they've done very, very well. But so in the last couple of years, they've had great earnings also, right? The other names in this group?
Across the board for the Magnificent Seven and also for the index, by the way, you worry about, are these things in a bubble, like you asked, right? No, it's been a story of profitability over the last 2 years, right? As opposed to valuation growth and multiples growing because people are putting a much higher price on future earnings, right? It's not that. It's just that companies have been very profitable, and so stocks have gone up.
Yeah, so we don't think now is like a 1999 moment. People have said that with these stocks in a bubble. Again, we don't think they're necessarily in a bubble. They've had a heck of a run. That means the bar is set very high. Any disappointment, sure, they could come back to earth a little bit more than stocks that aren't up as much. But the bottom line, these companies are making a lot of money, unlike in late 90s, early 2000s, with a lot of tech names that were up a lot, but they didn't justify it. One real quick thing as we wrap up the latest Take Five, something else to think about. They say, well, these big companies are top heavy. The stock market's top heavy. All the gains are like 5, 6, 7, 8 stocks. I would just push back gently, or not, maybe not gently, maybe loudly, if you will, against that, Sonu. Keep this real high level and simple. There's something called an advanced decline line. How many stocks go up versus down every single day? It's a cumulative basis. All the listeners need to know the advanced decline line for the S&P 500 hit an all-time high last week. The advanced decline line for the mid-cap 400 hit an all-time high last week. The NASDAQ 100 is close to 52-week highs at an AD level. So what I'm saying, it's not just about a few stocks. Financials are breaking out to all-time highs. Industrials, healthcare is all of a sudden starting to do really well also. So there's a lot of different groups under the surface that are really doing well. And it's not all about tech. It's not all about communications. They've been the all-stars. They've had the gold medal. Let's be very clear, for the last year or so. But there really is a lot of participation under the surface, which hopefully for all the listeners out there, that suggests this bull market's alive and well. Maybe the baton gets passed around a little bit, which is perfectly fine. We think this economy is strong and the bull market's going to keep going. With all that, everyone, this was your latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. We'll see you next week. Take care. All right, there we go. All right, I'll hit stop here.